What's going on YouTube? This is AK and you're watching Vlogmore. And today I have an incredibly special AR-15 to cover. The reason why it's incredibly special is because it is the descendant of an AR that I've covered in the past about 6 years ago, which ended up being my most popular video on my channel, which was the M&P Sport 2. So, which AR-15 is this? Well, it's not just any AR-15. As you can guess, it is the M&P Sport 3. Now, I'm going to make a controversial statement here. And I'm going to say that in 2024, given all the competition that we have with AR-15 brands really trying to take over the market, why I still think the M&P Sport 3 is the best AR-15 that you can buy for the money today if you're in the market for it. So, I'm going to go over features really fast, and then I'm going to give you the 3 reasons why it's the best option right now if you're looking for one. Let's get into it. First things first, as opposed to the M&P Sport 2, the M&P Sport 3 has a new look. I get it. M-LOK's been around for a while, since it seems like it's kicking key mod out the door. This is pretty cool. We knew that if they ever did come out with Sport 3 that it was going to have M-LOK, and they delivered. Again, boring to some of you. To me, really exciting, given what I'm going to tell you here later. So what we have is a M-LOK rail. We have a 1-in-8 twist barrel that is armonited. It is also comes with 5R rifling. And of course, for me, the coolest part is mid-length gas system. Now, I understand that for some of you, that's kind of lackluster in terms of a 2024 release for the Sport. But you gotta think, Smith & Wesson is good at making very basic standard ARs that work incredibly well and are incredibly durable for military and professional police applications, hence the M&P, right? So you must be wondering, why make such a bold claim as far as why this rifle is still the best for 2024? Well, I'm going to tell you. Number one is the track record. The M&P series of ARs, since the very first sport rifle that didn't have forward assist and a dust cover, has been kicking butt for many, many years. And the truth is Smith & Wesson, I would argue, is the first AR brand to come out with a very competitive AR for the average blue-collar shooter that wanted to arm themselves with an AR-15, with America's rifle. And at the time, it was the most popular selling AR-15 in the country. The Smith & Wesson has always been a great baseline for an affordable AR-15 that's going to run. Okay, so track record's been there, especially when you go back and look at my M&P Sport 2 review, where I talk about Iraqi veteran 8888 and how he did a meltdown, and that upper receiver for the Sport 2 lasted like mid 800s before a catastrophic failure, which was better than the Colt M4 meltdown that the government had conducted, which had its catastrophic failure in the 700 range. Okay, so it's already established with all the testing that's been done on this series of rifles that they hold up. Okay, so track record is there. Of course, a lot of people are not very pleased with the basic A2 buttstock handle and flash suppressor. However, that's the part that you need to actually understand is what makes this rifle so awesome. So number 2 is the availability of why you should get this rifle. If now that we're coming close to elections and right around the corner, you might hear some gun grabbing rhetoric. A lot of times when it comes to what I have coined, which are BAP rifles, Bear Creek, Anderson, Aero Precision, Palmetto State Armory, and like Spikes Tactical. You know, all these umbrella of rifles that have been historically known to be more affordable. A lot of times, if you want one of those rifles in a pinch, it's going to be more difficult to get them, because they generally tend to be ARs that you can find online. You know, the parts for the lowers, the uppers. And when it comes to gun grabbing rhetoric, it tends to sell out fast. But I've never been to an FFL dealer or, you know, sporting goods store that never had at least one M&P Sport 2. And I'm sure it would be the same thing with the Sport 3. So you can grab one in a pinch if need be. Okay? Now, number 3. You are essentially buying what was, at the time when it first came out, a $1,300 AR-15 with a few changes. Now, for those who are not familiar with Smith & Wesson's AR line, a couple years ago they came out with an AR-15 called the M&P 15 Tactical 2. And that was pretty much a service rifle for law enforcement that was going for about $1,300 at the time. Well, from all the research I've done, upon looking at the Sport 3, it has the exact same upper receiver as the Tactical 2. And why is that? Well, because, as I've stated before, the Tactical 2 came with a 1-in-8 twist barrel, 5R rifling, armor-knighted finish with a mid-length gas system in M-LOK. The only difference between that rifle and this one was the aesthetics, the furniture. This Tactical 2 had a different buttstock, different handle, came with flip-up iron sights, and it had a different bird cage on it. And a T-handle as well. From what I understand, the bolt carrier group is the same. So already you have essentially an upper receiver that's worth over $1,000. But to cut costs, they just gave you pretty much M&P Sport 2 lower receiver options. You do have this Smith & Wesson emblem here as opposed to the generic M&P 15 emblem, which I thought was a little bit, you know, tacky, but I think this looks a lot more elegant. So cool. So when you really think about the competition, again, the BAPS rifles that are really taking off because of how difficult things are in the economy, it makes more sense to grab one of these, because as you can see, if you already have what is essentially a $1,300 upper, you know, receiver, just you know, really the heart of the rifle, because I always say the heart of the rifle is the gas tube and the gas block, because once that goes, the rifle's dead. I mean, you can always drop another BCG in your rifle if like an extractor breaks or something happens with that, and get right back in a fight, as opposed to when the gas block, gas tube, they, you know, fail, the rifle's done. So Smith & Wesson already knows that they're giving you a war ready upper receiver with how they put their products together, as opposed to a BAPS rifle. Now, if we look at people who argue, well, with Palmetto State Armory, the Saber series, you can do more with that. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you go on the PSA website, you can find, just for the Saber upper alone, is the same cost as an entire Sport 3 rifle. So, and if you go for a full Saber rifle, it's going to be up over $1,000. So you're actually still getting better value with this, just so you know. And you're going to get better QC. I've seen a lot of horror stories about even the Saber rifles not having things properly inspected and not being installed properly. So still a better value with the M&P. Now I wanted to go back to how they were, geniusly able to cut costs, you know, and get you a quality rifle. Now I want to go back to the lower receiver here. So I finally uncovered what the Sport rifle's aluminum was made out of. The whole time I'm thinking, like, is it 70-75? And notice that it has always been difficult to figure out what the aluminum was made out of. Come to find out, it's not 7075 T6 aluminum for the lower receiver. It's actually 6061 T6 aluminum. So for those who don't know, basically it's a weaker, less corrosion resistant aluminum. It's still aircraft aluminum. It's still industrial aluminum. It's just that 7075 T6 aluminum is 1.5 times stronger than 6061 T6 aluminum. And 7075 has a little bit more corrosion resistance. But 6061 still has corrosion resistance. As we can see, the Sport and the Sport 2 have been running forever. They've held up very well. So we know that it's a proven aluminum. So don't let that deter you in any kind of way. Just know that that is one of the main factors of why they're able to save, or to get you a product that's so quality for such a low price. This lower receiver is 6061 T6 aluminum. Now I kind of wanted to go back to the barrel. It's kind of funny how things happen. I remember 12 years ago, Nothing Fancy talked about the very first sport rifle that didn't have the desk cover and the forward assist. And I remember when I really look back on it, they actually went back to this very first sport rifle's barrel. The very first M&P Sport was in 1-in-8 twist with 5R rifling. The only difference was it was a carbine length gas system and not mid-length. So they essentially went back to the first sports, barrel. And again, for some people, they might be like, well, that sucks. You're talking about bringing back a barrel. It's over 12 years old in 2024. But, sometimes that's the way technology works. Sometimes the older stuff works better. So they decided to bring that back. So essentially you're getting an M&P Sport barrel on the Sport 3 just with a mid-length gas system. And Nothing Fancy even says that on that video, if you look back, that if he could change anything about the very first Sport, he would put a mid-length gas system on that AR and it would be perfect. So I guess they did that all these years later. So again, I could see that being a downside for some people who are critical of the M&P Sport 3, but at least it's here now. So I still think Armonite is a better finish than chrome lining. This is my most accurate AR-15. It's more accurate than my two BCM rifles. And of course, because chrome lining has been shown to throw off accuracy ever so slightly. So it would make sense that this rifle's more accurate. The M&P Sport 2 I had before, way more accurate. So I had to throw those extra tidbits out there for you to know, what you're getting and why you're getting it. So I hope that you really enjoyed the video. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all later. Peace.